Listen to what I'm saying, people. You are the future. I do not want you to start thinking as small as your bank account. Be obedient to the visions, the ideas. Move on them. Out of sight, out of mind. It's grind season, it's hustle season. I need to awaken the beast inside of you. If you make it to the end of this video again, I want you to write, the world is an empty canvas waiting on new thoughts to think. And it's on us to create those thoughts. It is your responsibility to be obedient to God's visions. How dare you have God to send you a vision and a thought and an idea, or show up and reveal these things and ideas to you in your dream. It can be you writing a book. It can be you with all of your arts and crafts and designs. It can be you with sports. What are your visions and ideas that God has sent you? What is it? What's taking you so long to move on it? Put your money together. Budget your money. Make the move. Make the move. Just do it. And guess what? If you hit a wall, get your ass back up and keep going. I've made it this far from hearing way more no's than I've heard yeses. But I'm not afraid of the word no.
Write the vision and make it plain, so that he who reads it will run to it. And even though it tarry, that means take a long time, wait for it, for surely it will come at an appointed time. Listen to me. That's real. If you don't think it's real, I dare you to try it. Write everything you want on a piece of paper. Everything. Use your wildest imagination. If you can think it, you can achieve it. Write it on a piece of paper. Read it every morning and every night. Come back here 1 year from today and see how much of that stuff then came true. You have to write it. If it's not written, you reduce your chances greatly of it ever occurring.
Nobody's gonna come knocking at your door with opportunities. You gotta create them. Out of sight, out of mind. We talked about this before. Out of sight, out of mind. No one will ever have you in mind for anything unless you have yourself in mind for it. Get on people's radars. That's it. Gotta interact, socialize, get around the right people. Out of sight, out of mind, people. I can't tell y'all enough. What is the plan? Any man with no plan shall perish. What is the idea? What is the vision? What is it? What's happening? What's going on in your mind that the world needs to experience?
One underneath the other. Just let your dreams run free here, not what you think you can get, but what you want. If everything fell into place and you could have whatever you wanted the next 10 years, what would that be? Little things, major things, insignificant things, doesn't matter. Just make the list.
I gotta tell y'all something. The real reality is this. When you decide what you want to do for your life and your career, when God sends you a vision, a bold vision and confirmation around that book you were supposed to write, anything, it's going to be your family and friends and loved ones to be the first ones to try and talk you out of greatness. Because why? They were never sent that vision. They were never sent that idea. They were never sent that concept. As a matter of fact, if you try and explain it, they're still not going to get it, because you see the invisible. You see what's not there. Only those that can see the invisible can do the impossible. You have to be able to see what's not there in order to pull off the impossible.
Be clear in your mind in what you intend to achieve. Know what you are going to do. That doesn't seem like too much to ask. But how often do we see people going through their lives without knowing what they are trying to do, without having any intent, without having a clear mission? I'm talking on an individual level. As a person, people go through their lives without knowing what it is they want to do, what they want to accomplish. Know what your mission is. Know what your intent, as the commander of your life, know what your intent is, and then fight with everything you've got to win.
three major parts to personal development. Number one is physical part. Part of success is physical. Some people don't do well because they don't feel well. One of the first things to go to work on with intensive effort, and that's your own good health. Because a lot of things come from that. You know, the future possibilities could be greatly diminished by being lazy in producing maximum health. If you'll take care of that as a support system, you can't believe what else is possible. You can't believe what the mind can think of. You can't believe your imagination and your faith and your ability to say, hey, I'll go to work and produce the muscle to do the deal. Why? I'm healthy, I'm vigorous, I'm vital, I'm not out of breath. But sometimes, you know, when all these ideas and stuff comes and, you know, you're a little bit too weak to even attempt, you say, oh, I'm not sure I can do that. The doubts sometimes are more physical than they are mental. You haven't got the vitality to believe it's possible. But if you've got the vitality and the strength and you've got the health to do it, I'm telling you, ideas seem to love to be invested in healthy people that have got the ability and the ambition to pull it off. They got the health to do it. They got the strength to do it. So why not start with the health and see if your own vitality would inspire you to more imagination? Because now when you imagine, you can pull it off. But if you can't pull it off, you know, why imagine? The imagination says, why to go to work and spin all of these goals and stuff when the body isn't ready to produce? So start with physical. It's very important. Now here's some good ideas. There's scripture that says this, treat your body like a temple. Excellent phrase. A temple meaning something you take extremely good care of. Treat your body like a temple, not a woodshed. Here's why. The body and the mind work together. The body and the physical and the health is a support system for the mental that can dream, that can think, that can ponder, that can wonder, that can design, that can believe, that can have the spirit and all that's possible in terms of emotional content. But now, since the mind and the body work together, you got to take care of the body as a support system. One wise man said, sometimes the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. See, that's a sad combination, a willing spirit and a weak body. Sad. You wake up in the morning, right? The mind says, let's go get him. The body says, I can't even get out of bed. So have a talk with yourself and say, this is the last time I'm going to be out of breath. This is the last time I will lack the vitality to pull off my dreams. Because sure, the dream factory will shut down if you haven't got the vitality and the energy and the health to pull it off. So start taking care. Now here's the key to be conscious of self, but not self-conscious. You just got to take care of it. You don't have to be a fanatic. It doesn't take 8 hours a day pushing weights to have relative good health. Just do the simple stuff, the exercise and the nutrition and the health and just do the stuff. You know, for normal pulling off with vitality, the dreams that you want, just a simple little plan will do. Now also part of the physical is the outside as well as the inside. Interesting phrase written. It says, God looks on the inside, people look on the outside. So you got to take care of both. The inside for God and the outside for people. What's the old phrase? You never have a second chance to make a first impression. So the outside appearance is also valuable as well as inside vigor and vitality. Somebody says, well, people shouldn't judge you by your appearance. Let me give you a clue. They do. You can't bypass that. Now, of course, when people get to know you, they'll judge you by more than just how you appear. But physical, outside, inside. Here's what's good advice. Make sure the outside is an excellent reflection of the inside. Take care of both. So first, in personal development, on these three parts is physical. Here's the second, spiritual. I am a believer that humans are a special creation. I don't ask other people to adopt my belief, but I simply am a believer that humans are unique among all life forms. We're affected by how we feel, attitude. This is the emotional part. We need the intellectual part to set sail. So as the winds blow, we can still get where we want to go. Redefine, keep strengthening our psychological and philosophical guidance system. But now we're also affected by the emotions. That's the power. 4 things to consider on attitude and how you feel. Here's number 1. It's how you feel about the past. Past experience, even past losses, past failures, as well as successes. To review it and go back over it, see where you went wrong, correct that, invest that now in the future. Don't live in the past, and don't carry the past around like a burden, but simply use your past as one of your mentors to help refine mistakes, make some changes that you can invest now in the future. Here's the second attitude. It's how you feel about the future. We look back for experience, but number two, we look forward for inspiration. Take some time and decide what you want. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do the next 10 years, 20 years? How about the people you want to meet, the cities you want to visit, experiences you'd like to have over this next period of time? Here's the next key. Write it all down. Building a life is like building a house. You wouldn't start building the house until you had it finished. So I'm asking you not to be casual anymore. Start designing the future for yourself, for your family, for your business. Okay? Decide what you want. So from the past we get experience, from the future we get excitement. Now here's the next advice. Put everything on your list of goals. Little things, insignificant to someone else but important to you. So set goals. Set the goals that'll turn you on, goals that'll get you excited. Put everything on your list. Now, here's the next attitude. It's very important how you feel about everybody. If you want to be a leader extraordinaire, here's what you learn. Each of us need all of us. One person doesn't make an economy. One person doesn't make a symphony orchestra. Each of us need all of us, and all of us need each of us. Each gift is important as we bring it to the table, as we bring it to the community. Now here's the last one on attitude. It's how you feel about yourself. Nothing more powerful than self-confidence to start multiplying your income by 2, by 3, by 5, by 10. It comes from self-esteem, doing the things you know you should do, and at the end of this day, your self-esteem is soaring and high. 3 key words. Remember these words? Here they are. Study, practice, and teach. If you are a believer in whatever religion or whatever spiritual part of your program, these are 3 excellent words. Study, practice, teach. Don't neglect your studies on your own spirituality, whatever its origin, whatever your beliefs. Then practice, put it into practice so that, number 1, you become a good role model, first for your children. Then teach, pass it on. You got to pass it on to the next generation and the next generation. What if the next generation gets a little weaker and the next generation gets a little weaker? Now the family foundation is starting to be weakened, which now weakens the nation because the nation is built up of strong family foundations. Now here's the third part. First is physical, second is spiritual, third is mental. Some key phrases on the mental part. First, the mind must be nourished. Food for thought. Bread for the head. Yes, you need a slice of toast in the morning, right, for your body, but you need a slice of cassette you put in the car system and listen and listen. Let something feed your mind. Here's what I teach in one of the other seminars on the mind, and that is stand guard at the door of your mind. Don't just listen to anything and everything. Make sure that you're your own best filter of what goes into your mental factory and spins out the fabric of your life in the future. Stand guard at the door of your mind. Spend time. Be a selective listener. But you got to have a good diet, a good mental diet. When you walk into a home and walk into the pantry of the kitchen, you take a look, what's in this? This family's either going to be healthy or it isn't going to be healthy. And a lot depends on what's in the cupboard. What you bring home, right, from the grocery store that you feast on for the body. Now here's what's important. A proper menu for the mind to make sure that it's got a wide range of nourishment. Because the mind needs the full education. The education of the dangers of life as well as the possibilities of life. Life consists of really 2 major things. One is avoiding the dangers and taking advantage of the opportunities. That's what life is all about. Avoiding the dangers and taking advantage of the opportunities. Now by education, you've got to be able to see both, where somebody points out to you, these are the dangers, these are the possibilities. And if you keep refining your ability to see the dangers, to avoid as many as possible, and to see as many opportunities as possible, and to maximize those as you go and refine and go produce and refine, now that starts to develop the foundation for what we call a good life, a productive life, a fulfilled life. And we need this mental input. so that you'll have mental food to feast on long after the lights are out and we've left the premises. Now, we also need mental exercise. We talked about debate earlier. That's good mental exercise. Is it or isn't it? Here's what's important: to debate with yourself, to look at both sides of the issue. You must be a student of tragedy as well as triumph. You must be a student of ill as well as good. Ideas, learning to debate with yourself what's good, what's bad, what's good for you, what isn't good for you. Keep your mind vigorous. Study evil as well as good. You need a good library. And in this library, you need all kinds of diversity. You need a book on Gandhi and you need a book on Hitler. Gandhi to show you how high and lofty someone's ambitions that are noble can go, and the other one to show you how despicable and low someone can sink in terms of pure evil embodied in a human. Don't be afraid of the debate. Don't be afraid of the health debate. Don't be afraid of the religious debate, the spiritual debate. Don't be afraid for something you believe in to be challenged, because that's where the vigor and the flourishing of something is. It survives the debate. If it survives the debate, it's a pretty good idea. Okay, mental exercises. So, feed the mind, debate, exercise, a continual diet. You can't go too long in between the classes and the schools and the seminars and the sermons where things are being taught of value. Here's what else is important. You got to go to everything you can afford. Have a good plan, weekly plan, monthly plan to go to a variety of things, go to a variety of things, go to a variety of things. And don't miss the chance. Even if you're involved in a certain company and they say, we're going to have a training class, you say, I've been to one of those. I'm asking, you got to go again, and you got to go again. You can't get it all the first time. When they call a little training class, make sure you're there. Here's why. Some of them are going to be life-changing. And you don't know which experience is going to be life-changing. You can't pick the one. You just got to go, 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 go. One is life-changing. You go again, you go again, you go again. Another one is life-changing. For the people that were there, somebody that you met, something that you heard, and that one was just perfect. The atmosphere was right, the crowd was right, and everything was right, and you'll never be the same again. And you don't know which one that's going to be. That's why you've got to pursue. Go often, have a good plan for the search of knowledge and ideas that can inspire to the best of your potential.
If you make it to the end of this video, I want you to write this. The world is an empty canvas waiting on new thoughts to think. And it's on us, creative visionaries. It's on us to create those thoughts.
You pop up with the vision and the idea, and everybody monkey see, monkey do. They all fall in line.
They want to do exactly what you did. What is that vision? What is that idea that you're sitting on? What is that dream that showed up to you and only you?
You have to have everything you want written. If you do not have it written down, your chances of it happening is reduced drastically because it's a principle of success.
What you put in will produce the output. Okay. So when you see a situation that's difficult and you see a situation that, other people don't want to do, you should maybe be the person who steps up to that and says, dude, I'm willing to do that because I'll learn this. I'm willing to take on that because I'm willing to get this skill. I'm going to endure this adversity because I know it's going to make me stronger. All right. So look at these as an opportunity for you to grow, as opposed to something that you should run away from because it's going to be difficult. This is something that champions and successful people who are great at what they do and live great lives that bring other people up do automatically. Okay? So that's the first thing. Embrace your adversity and look for opportunities to get better and grow. Now, the second thing I think is going to resonate with a lot of you guys. Dude, a lot of you guys, for lack of better terms, you got no swag, okay? And what I mean by that is this. It's not that you don't, it's that you're too afraid to show it. All right. You let people humble you to death. What does that mean? You guys all know what that means. Think about the time that you said, to your best friend or your group of friends or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and you said, what your real dream was. You got all this courage and you got vulnerable and you decided you were going to tell the truth about what it is you wanted to achieve. And then what happened? You got laughed at. And he's, oh, Andy, dude, come on, man. Like, what are you really going to do? Or when you start making progress, like a lot of you guys, in your fitness journey, you see, you start to make progress and you have people kind of hate on it passively, right? Oh, you're getting all serious about that health junk now. Well, yeah, no shit, motherfucker, because it's important. Or you start to have a little success in your business and people start telling you, oh, Andy thinks he's hot shit now, blah, blah, blah. Okay, these are what I'm talking about. You guys allow a lot of the people that you connect with and you allow in your life to pull you down because you feel obligated to hearing their opinion or listening to them because of the context of the relationship. Maybe it's your brother, maybe it's your friend from high school, maybe it's your girlfriend, maybe it's your boyfriend, maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your dad, right? And we all love these people, and these people mean well most of the time. And what they don't understand is when they criticize us for having a little success or laugh at our dreams, what does that make us do? It makes us pull back. It makes us get more conservative. It makes us not say what we want. And I can promise you, if you can't say what you want, you'll never achieve what you want. All right? It'll never happen. So you guys have to understand that it is okay to believe in yourself. It is okay to say, I'm going to do this. It is okay to celebrate your successes. Winning in life in any area is a great thing.
Victoria and I were in another city walking through a park, and it was full of these huge cactus plants. They stood over 30 feet tall, all kinds of incredible shapes. I was amazed at not only how beautiful they were, but how big they were. As we continued through the park, enjoying all the sights, we came to a group of cactus that looked the same type as the large cactus, but they were only about my height. I went over to them and looked closer, trying to figure out why they were so much shorter. I said to Victoria, they must be a different kind. She looked up and said, no, Joel, it's that tree. There was this large oak tree, and its branches were keeping the sun from hitting these cactus. What's interesting is they have the same potential as the cactus that were 30 feet tall. They're in the same soil, same climate, same weather conditions. The only difference was something was blocking their growth. And because they're constantly in the shade, they're only a fraction of what they were created to be. And I wonder if something is blocking your growth. Are you under the shade of what someone spoke over you, told you what you couldn't do, how you're not that talented? Now that shade is limiting your life. Are you under the shade of intimidation, afraid to step out in faith, thinking of all the things that could go wrong? Do you have friends that are blocking your growth, causing you to compromise, do things that are holding you back? What could you become if you got out from under that shade? How high could you go if you made some adjustments? The good news is the potential is still in you. You can still become who you were created to be. You just have to get out from under that shade. Remove what's blocking your growth and you'll begin to blossom. You'll go to new levels. There's nothing wrong with you. You have the life of Almighty God in you. He created you to rise higher, to be successful, confident, to leave your mark. I was talking to a man and he was so down on himself because of past mistakes. He went on and on telling me everything he had done wrong. He was so focused on his past that it was poisoning his future. You may have made mistakes. We all have. But don't let guilt stunt your growth. Come out from under that shade. Quit thinking about all the things you've done wrong, living in regrets, thinking you've seen your best days. When you live guilty, you're in agreement with the enemy. He's called the accuser. He'll remind you of every mistake you've made for the last 20 years. He'd love for you to go through life feeling wrong about yourself. What he's trying to do is stunt your growth. He'll do his best to keep you in the shade. He knows your potential. He knows you were created to soar. That's why he works overtime trying to make us feel guilty, whispering, you don't measure up. You failed again. You blew your diet. You didn't spend enough time with your children. There's always some reason to be down on ourselves. You have to put your foot down and say, no thanks, I'm not living under that shade. I know I'm forgiven, I'm redeemed, my past is over, my present is secure, my future is bright.
Can you be committed to the process of what you're doing without being emotionally attached to the results of what you're doing? Can you be committed to the process of what you're doing without being emotionally attached to the results of what you're doing? In other words, if you don't get what you thought you was going to get, will you still be the same individual? If the situation don't turn out the way you thought it would turn out, will you still be the same individual? The quote says it, you judge the character of a man not by where he stands in times of comfort and convenience. You judge the character of a man by where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. Like, I don't care what a cat do when everything goes right. I don't. Because everybody knows to smile. Everybody gonna celebrate when you win a game. Everybody gonna be in your corner and talking about how great you are. But when the opposition happens, when it gets hot, right? When cats don't want it and don't want to be a part of it, when things start going south and a cat jumps on your head and you're like, man, it's not what I thought it was, right? The crazy thing about it is most cats remind me of one of my freshman roommates when we first got our Pell Grant check, right? And I'll never forget, I got $2,500 and he got close to $4,000. And when I looked at him, I said, man, I ain't never had this much money before. He like, me neither. I said, man, I'm going to the bank. I'm about to open up me an account. I'm gonna put this in the bank. My man says to me, Ink, I'm gonna go to Foot Locker. I'm about to spend all this. I'm like, all right, cool, but come with me to the bank, man. You need to save a little bit of that. I said, you might not get that much again. He's like, that's the problem. I said, come with me to the bank. He come with me to the bank, open up an account. I put my money in the bank. He goes straight to the mall, exactly what he said he was gonna do. We walk in Foot Locker, let me get those J's, he's splurging. All right, we get to the counter, lady starts ringing it up. He gives her the card, she swipes the card didn't go through. He looked at me, I said, don't look at me, big spender. You the man. He said, ma'am, I know I got the money, football office gave it to me. Can you swipe it again? She swiped it again, card didn't go through. He looked at me, I said, don't look at me, big money tight grip, you the man. He said, ma'am, can you swipe it again? I know I got the money. She swiped it, didn't go through. She handed him the card back, and I'll never forget, she said to him, sir, you haven't even pulled a strip off the back of the card to activate the card. She said, you got the money. She said, but you haven't even called to activate it. And when you look at some young cats, you're like, man, you could be great. But you haven't even pulled a strip off to activate it. Like, you can operate in a level of excellence in everything you do, but you haven't even pulled a strip off to activate it. Right? You living on reserve, and most cats live on reserve. And what I mean by living on reserve, most cats do things in such a way to where when they get to a certain point, their heart is like a Cadillac converter in a car. Right? You know what a Cadillac converter is? It's when you're in a certain car and you try to push it to the limit, and when it gets to the limit, the car says, And every time you try to mash it, the car, because it hasn't been to that point before, and that's the heart of most cats. When they get to a certain point that they haven't been to before, they retreat.
His son John Leslie poses a question. He said, when you have goals and dreams you want to achieve, he said, ask yourself the question, who should I count on and who should I count out? And so many people never achieve their goals because they have too many toxic, negative, energy-draining people in their lives. And you have to have goals outside of your comfort zone that will challenge you, because in order to do something you've never done, you've got to become someone you've never been. And you've got to have a mentor who's experienced, who's been there, done that. And as a result of that relationship, because you can't see the picture when you're in the frame, Muhammad Ali said, I'm the greatest, but he never won a championship without Angelo Dundee. And Michael Jordan never won a championship without Phil Jackson. So you've got to have someone that can see something in you that you can't see. that can take you to a place within yourself that you can't go by yourself. So I would teach them the value of having a life coach, that life is an adventure and it's going to be a challenge, and get ready because you're going to fail your way to success. You're going to get slapped around by life. And don't spend time complaining about it and telling everybody 80% don't care and 20% glad it's you. Dr. Alfred Golson, who has since passed, was a very unusual guy. And he told me, he said, Mr. Brown, you have cancer. I said, can you give me a second opinion? He said, yeah. I said, you're ugly too. I said, oh my God. So I didn't have a chance to have fear because, those three words, you have cancer, three of the most feared words in 7 different languages. I saw it as a fight. And from that time to this time, my PSA was 2,400. And that's after prostate-specific antigen, and now it's below 0 and metastasized to 7 areas of my body, which was a good thing because 7 is my lucky number. Okay, so I never was fearful that I was going to die from it, and I think I read something by Dr. Norman Cousins. He wrote a book called The Biology of Hope, and he talked about the fact that when something happens to you, you don't deny it, you defy it. And I was defiant that I'm going to beat this, I'm going to handle this. That there are people who many times when something happens to them, that they embrace it from a place of fear and it takes them out. And Elsie Robinson said, things may happen to you and things may happen around you, but the most important things are the things that happen in you. And you have to stand up inside yourself and deal with it and handle it. So fortunately, that never bothered me, but I had sciatica pain. That had me speaking in unknown tongues. And I was in a wheelchair for several months, speaking from a wheelchair. And it was something that I dealt with that frightened me. Will this ever end? It was 24 hours. I lost a lot of sleep. It was exhausting, going from all types of specialists in and out of the country. And just one day, it stopped. And I'm glad that I'm past that, I feel like when you go through some stuff, there's some certain things that you don't want ever to see again, and that's what I want to ever see again. But fear has not been the biggest challenge that I've faced with the things that I've been dealing with in terms of my health.
Well, talk to me about the process that you go through mentally. So there have been a few times in your life in getting to know your story where it seemed like really key inflection points. Being told that you were teachable but mentally retarded, that for sure is something that would define most people, and they would have a hard time escaping that. Being told that you have cancer, that it's stage 4, that they don't know how to treat it, like that's something that consumes most people. How do you build that resilience? So maybe by the time you get to cancer, you've already done so much work, so I get maybe how that one you're protected by the mechanisms you've built, but in the beginning, how did you crawl out from under the labels that people were putting on you?
The easiest thing I've done was to get out from under the labels and to live the life that I live. The most difficult thing I've ever done was to believe that I can do it.
What's the difference?
The difference is that when you don't know what's impacting you, and it's something that's holding you down and you're not aware of it. The great anthropologist Margaret Mead was in a restaurant in London, and a guy was serving her and said, there are several Americans here tonight. And she said, is that right? Yeah. She said, let me know when you serve them dessert. I'll tell you exactly how many are here. He said, oh, you couldn't possibly. And so he came back and said, okay, I've done it. And she got up and she walked around. And she came back and she said, there are around 25 here. And he looked at the roster. How did you know that? Say, in America, we eat differently from you when we eat a dessert. You eat it from the crust toward the tip. We eat it from the tip toward the crust. When you eat a slice of pie, how do you eat yours?
Definitely, yeah, from the tip back to the crust, for sure.
Yeah, okay, and so there are things that when you, in my situation, when you live in a dominant culture that is designed to destroy your sense of self and your belief in yourself, and you have to learn ways in which you can begin to connect with this power that you have within yourself to handle where you are. The key is to be constantly in a perpetual process of discovering the truth of who you are and fighting constantly to look for ways in which you can escape the inner conversation. I speak to audiences around the world, and I train speakers as well, and I tell them that when you speak, that there's an objective that you want to achieve when you speak to an audience, because how people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. So you as a speaker, when you speak in this program, when people see you, what you do is distract, dispute, and inspire. You distract people from their current story with your guests and the questions that you asked. Through the process of the ongoing questioning and the way in which they respond and the things they have learned, you dismantle their current belief system and inspire them to create a new chapter with their lives. And so, but that's an ongoing process of constantly interrupting that conversation, what psychologists call your self-explanatory style, because life is going to beat up on you in so many ways, and many things, they come back, negative thoughts and how you feel about yourself, they don't die. They come back once you stop doing the maintenance work on your mind, listening to motivational messages, going to seminars and workshops, spending time quietly listening to the still small voice within. Who am I really? Is this really me? Am I giving my best? Am I just reflecting what's around me? Because all of these various things affect how we show up in life. And so having a strategy to continuously find ourselves reaching higher. Robert Schuller had a book, it's not very popular, but I loved it. It's called Peak to Peak, P-E-A-K to P-E-E-K, because you're constantly reaching higher to find out, discover your better self. This is a time where you have to be hungry because according to the Department of Labor, over 20,000 people lose their jobs every month and being replaced by artificial intelligence. And so I used to sell television sets. A guy named Sam Axelrod, knock on the door, hello, hi, would you like to buy a good working television set? Nobody down. And they say, no, you're going from door to door. And he would call the guys together when it gets so late and say, okay, we gotta go. And he would call everybody to the car. And he said, wait a minute, he kind of hear, hey, Leslie's not here. And I can hear him saying, hey, Leslie, come on to the car. And I said, no, Sam, why not? I said, I'm not going to stop until I sell a television set. I haven't sold yet. No, nobody's sold anything yet. I don't care, Sam. I've got to do this. I made a commitment. I'm going to make enough money to put groceries on our table. And I would knock sometimes 10:30 at night. And, hey, would you like to buy a nice working television set? No money down? Do you know what time it is? Yes, I do. I'm going to buy groceries for our family. Somebody's going to buy a nice working television set from me tonight, and it might as well be you. And they say, come on in here, fool, it better be a good one. So I learned how to be unstoppable. When he came to pick the other guys up, we had to wait till they got dressed, but I would be standing out front looking for him, waiting. because I was hungry. They were getting money just to have a good time, to party on the weekend. I was earning money so that we could eat.